let's get over here. Let's now talk about sponsors. Let's talk about sponsors, guys. And this is important for the folks who want to climb in corporate America. This is important for people who really want to climb in corporate America. We talked about the roles of role models for sure, right? Role models are people that you want to, you admire and you wish to emulate and so forth. We talked about mentors and how they really help you with, navigating your career, and they're long-term people. But a lot of times you got to remember this. Mentors, they aren't in positions of power a lot of the times to help you in the corporate world. They can give you the guidance, help you navigate, help you stay away from certain obstacles and stuff like that. But if your mentor is somebody who works outside of the company that you work for and you're trying to climb the ladder, that mentor isn't going to be able to help you in that position. A coach, on the other hand, will be able to help you get to a certain position by, a transactional sort of a relationship that you're going to have with him. Maybe it is the fact that you're going to apply for a chief marketing position and you got to go through interview process. Your coach could be the person that you hire to help you with that interview process. Sponsors. This is how you get to the bag, guys. I'm going to tell you like this. This is how you get to the bag. If you want to climb corporate America, you have to have a sponsor. And a sponsor is someone who talks about you when you are not in the room, guys. I want to make this very clear to you. A sponsor is somebody who works in the company that you are working for, but somebody who talks about you when you are not in the room. So I think you guys have seen the visibility videos that I've put out there around how do you get promoted and stuff like that. And visibility is very important because you want to make sure that you are conversating and rubbing shoulders with the people who are at leadership positions. If your leaders don't know who you are, there's no chance for you to get promoted. So visibility is very important. But in addition to visibility, you need to have somebody who is a sponsor to you. Someone who talks about you when you are not in the room. Give you an example. A lot of times in these conversations, in these rooms, they're sitting around a table, executives, and they're talking about new opportunities that are coming up. And of course, visibility is important because if you know an executive, they are going to more than likely, if your name comes up, they're going to more than likely have good things to say about you. Well, check this out, right? If you have a sponsor, and let's just say you have visibility as well, and your name came up, and somebody said, hey, you know what? Antoine was going to do something this year to where, I've had to had a tough conversation with him about being detail oriented. If a sponsor was in that room to hear that conversation, the sponsor would be like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? Antoine is absolutely detail oriented. I just had him on an assignment and he got everything done the right way, right? He would be able to shut that conversation down a lot of the times to speak for you when you are not in the room. Because the person who is saying something about you potentially is just saying something so that he can boost somebody else in his group that he wants to get promoted, right? So you have to remember that you need to have sponsors. You need to have sponsors who's going to be there and they are going to talk about you when you are not in the room. Hey, I know a guy, his name is Antoine. Antoine is doing some really good things. Or if somebody says something about Antoine and it's not in the right way, they're going to correct that, right? So here's the thing. You could do everything right in your career, but if someone doesn't notice and recognize your efforts, it would be extremely difficult for you to get promoted within your organization. And that's why visibility is key. That's why having a sponsor is key as well, guys. It's very important to have a sponsor that's going to be there to help talk and speak for you when you're not in the room, because a lot of the times you're not going to be in the room at all when a lot of these conversations are going on. You're not even going to be privy to it a lot of the times when these conversations are going on. You may be a junior manager and your next row is to get to a senior manager. And you're not going to be invited to those executive conversations when that stuff happens. But you need to make sure that you have a sponsor that when something comes up out of your 9 box, oh, this person may not be ready for it yet. That sponsor is going to be like, no, that person he's ready for it. And this is the reason why he's ready for it. And the way how you get a sponsor is no different than you reaching out and asking somebody to be your mentor, right? You have to really be very crystal clear that this person is going to be, you're asking for sponsorship. You have to bring something to the table. And let me tell you this. So a mentor is somebody that you may have a long-term relationship with. A sponsor is somebody that you're not going to get a lot of their time. You're not going to get a lot of their time at all because these guys are typically busy. And you may have conversations with them maybe twice a quarter, maybe, 4 times a year. But they know who you are. You keep them updated with what's going on, and they're going to vouch for you guys. So I wanted to make that clear, guys. I wanted to make that clear. Role model, someone you want to become, right? Somebody you admire. Mentor, somebody that you talk with, right? Coach is somebody that talks at you. Sponsor is somebody that talks about you. That's the game, guys. That's the game. So let me do this. I have a good brother of mine who is going to come on the show. His name is Mr. Steven Stern, and I'm going to bring him in right now because Steven is someone who I've been mentoring for quite some time. And I wanted to introduce him to the chat because Steven is in tech as well. He's in supply chain tech. Oh, he's actually not in supply chain anymore, but he's still in tech. And he's been doing some magnificent things. And he reaches out to me very often about career to have career conversations. And one thing about Steven, I must say, he reaches out. I mean, again, he reaches out at least 2 to 3 times a week, whether it's him going on a trip to Jamaica and sitting on the beach, showing me how he's big pimping, or he's reaching out saying that he's gambling in Las Vegas. But Steven, man, welcome to the show, brother. How are you this morning, man?
Doing great, doing blessed. How you doing, Antoine?
I can't complain. I wanted to bring you on the show today to kind of tell your story, to talk about, why you've needed role models, why you've needed mentors and stuff like that. But before we get there, let me just ask for you to quickly introduce yourself to the chat, man. Tell people who Mr. Stern is.
All right. So Mr. Stern is a 40-year-old. I consider myself a technologist. I just love technology in and out. I was first introduced to technology. It wasn't through high school, actually, because when I was growing up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, our introduction to technology was Excel spreadsheets and so forth. They didn't really have programming classes or web programming or machine or any of that. So I was introduced to it one day. I went to Office Depot. I bought a hard drive, and I was like, man, how do I get this hard drive in the computer? And I took the computer apart, put it together, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what makes this computer talk. And then that landed me into college, into computer science. We'll be honest, flunked out the first time. Had to come back, start back over. Had to come back, start back over.
One thing, Steven. The reason why I'm laughing at that because you got many computer science majors in here. Professor Black Ops is a computer science major. You got me, who's a computer science minor. I made the right decision to go to management information systems because computer science is a very tough major. But continue on. Talk about you getting a second chance and you going back at it.
So the second chance, I ended up at the DeVry, and the counselor looked at me and he said, "Man, you're coming in here with like a 1.0. That's like a free throw." And I was like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Just throw those credits out. I'll start back over. And that honestly was a blessing in disguise because then I learned the importance of, regardless of how you fall down, it matters how you get back up. And our class started out with about 600. And when we graduated, it was like 52.
Wow.
Because you know how it gets when those core classes kick in, not the critical thinking and the social sciences. When those core classes kick in, when you start doing the object-oriented programming, people are like, oh, man, this isn't for me.
Yep.
I was just trying to, people get into computer science to chase the bag, but it's not their love. Mm-hmm. And once they realize it's not, they switch their major.
Yep.
So graduated from DeVry. DeVry then led me to working little miscellaneous tech jobs here. Not really anything great. then my first big break was like I had landed a job with IBM under a role known as a level 3 software engineer. And that role, I was invited into that through a minority hiring initiative called Project View. They flew me out to Texas. I was ecstatic to the point where I forgot my shoes and I had to go to Walmart and go buy some shoes. Didn't realize I didn't have any dress shoes with me. Landed a job, first work from home gig at 26. And I was ecstatic. I was like, man, IBM, I'm here.
Yep.
Well, after a year, IBM sold off the division. So, minor setback, but picked myself back up. Then I started working for the federal government in the G6 division. Which G6 is just pretty much the technology division of the Army. Well, any DoD. It goes G1 through, I believe, 9 or 10. So I was in G6 in the IMO shop, which is information assurance. Then moved into the information infosec sector.
Yep. And Stephen, you got a lot of people on here who've done government contracting and who's worked for the Department of Defense. Professor Black Ops is another one as well too. He talks about it all the time, man.
Yeah.
But continue on, sir. Continue on.
We could probably exchange some stories, Black Ops. So, while I was at Fort McPherson working for USARC, which was the United States Army Reserves, I met Lieutenant Colonel Tony Jefferson, who became my mentor, sponsor, and everything, my advocate, my voice. And he was like, hey, man, look, this base is shutting down. I would suggest you go get your master's to elevate you above everybody else so you have a bigger bargaining chip and kind of get more abreast of what's going on. So I ended up doing that before we left for Fort Bragg. I got my master's in information systems management with a minor in InfoSec. Got to Fort Bragg and I was miserable.
Yeah.